Pavo Pico, Pavo 20, Pavo 20 Pro. I am a big fan of the Pavo series drones, mainly because of their price. You can find all of these for under $100. Well, technically, the Pavo 20 series of drones retails for $105, but if you buy them on AliExpress, there's almost always a sale or a coupon code going on, so you can easily find these for under $100. Links to these will be in the description below. Now, that price is for the drone only, so like this, it doesn't come with a video transmitter unit, and so you need to supply your own video transmitter like the DJI-03 Air unit. But if you don't already have the 03 Air unit, right now is a good time to pick one up because DJI recently permanently reduced the price of the 03 from $229 to $179, so a $50 price cut. And so with that 03 Air unit and this Pavo 20 Pro, you can get some pretty cool shots like this. This is shot at 4K 60 frames per second, and all of my settings are on auto, so it's really simple to use. You just set it to 4K 60, hit record, and you can get shots like this. So yeah, that's the main draw for these Pavo series of drones. For just $100, you can get an 03 ready drone. Now, before we do a comparison between these Pavo series of drones, let's go back in time to my unboxing and first impressions of the Pavo 20 Pro. Let's see what we get in the box. Da-na-na-na. Nicely packed in foam. And there it is. Here's the bare Pavo 20 Pro. And already I can feel just how big this drone is. Even though it's called the Pavo 20, the 20 usually means 2.0 inch props, but this Pavo 20 Pro comes with custom 2.2 inch props, which I thought was pretty interesting. Usually when you build a drone, you pick a prop and you build the drone around that, but instead BetaFPV went to Gemfan and they got custom 2.2 inch props engineered just for them. It's kind of hard to see in this video, but even the props are branded both BetaFPV and Gemfan. But anyways, the drone is looking a little naked right now because it doesn't have the 03 Air unit. Let's figure out what else they give you. You get the LED strip, which you can stick to the outside of the drone. Looks like we get 2 spare props as well as the little USB board. So there is no USB port on, there's no USB port on the flight controller. You stick this little USB board adapter into the back here, just like the Pavo 20. Here's our 03 mounting kit. Here's some extra screws and our stubby antennas for the DJI-03. And you still get the little 20x20 mounting adapter here. That's nice. So if you're gonna mount a 20x20 VTX like the CAT-X Vista or one of the Voxmeal systems, you get the little mounting bracket instead. And here is the cage. So the 03 will go here, and the cage will go on here. And interestingly, it looks like this isn't the same cage from the original Pavo 20, which I actually have right here. So in my Pavo 20 review video, my biggest complaint about the Pavo 20 was that when you're flying cinematically and you have this camera pointed as low as you can, as horizontal as you can to do some nice slow cinematic flights, the edges of the prop guards are still in view, which I thought was a huge bummer because these are Cinewhoops. You should be able to capture, cinematic flights in a nice slow manner, but if you have the camera angled this low, it's not even horizontal, it's still pointed up, but the prop guards get in view. But it looks like they may have solved this with the Pavo 20 Pro because this cage, let me try and position it further. Yeah, this is a different cage. Let me get the stuff out of the background. Compared to the original Pavo 20, which is right here, this cage is a little bit longer, so it pushes the camera up more, and you also get a couple more mounting options. So it looks like they might have solved that problem by pushing the camera up more. The camera is sitting quite a bit out front, so hopefully we will never see the prop guards in view with the Pavo 20 Pro. And while I have this out, let's compare the Pavo 20 Pro to the Pavo 20. So you can see the 2.2 inch props are just slightly larger in diameter, and they switched from these 2 blade props to 3 blades. Now apparently this was a common complaint with the Pavo 20 Pro, that these props didn't have enough bite for freestyle. But I personally never found an issue with it because I don't freestyle my Cinewhip drones. I just fly them cinematically. So I'm curious to see how well this Pavo 20 Pro will do flying just cinematically, if the battery life is still going to be pretty good. On the original Pavo 20, I'm using these Genzace Tattoo R-Line 553S packs, and this Pavo 20 Pro is also rated to use the same exact packs, 553S packs. So I think I want to do a kind of a battery flight time comparison between them to see if one of them is more efficient than the other. Also, BetaFPV just released their own lipos for this. They are the BetaFPV Lava series packs. The motors are also branded Lava as well. I think it's just branding. But they've released their own 550 3S lipos, which is perfect for the Pavo20 and the Pavo20 Pro. It's shaped a little bit differently than the Genzace Tattoo packs, so it's a little bit skinnier and longer. Maybe I'll do a side-by-side comparison between the Genzace packs and the BetaFPV packs as well. But anyways, it's time to transfer my DJI-03 air unit from my Pavo20 to my new Pavo20 Pro, and then we'll take it out for a test flight. Installing the 03 air unit into the new Pavo20 Pro cage is just as easy as the original Pavo20 cage. It still uses the nice step screws, so there's no risk of over-tightening it. So it just took me a couple of minutes to transfer over the 03 air unit. Alright, I'm just about done setting up my Pavo20 Pro, and I'm noticing a little bit of an issue. The battery wires are a little bit short. So I have my Tattoo 550 pack centered properly under the drone, but the power cable, it's not very long, and it's not even long enough for the power cable to go perfectly horizontal. This is as far as it goes. You can't put it in here because then it'll get torn up in the props, and it's not small enough to fit in this little triangle here either. So this is as far as the power cable goes, which also means your battery cable is then going to have to come out at that angle and come back down to your battery, which for this Tattoo R-Line pack is not going to fit very well unless you stick it all the way until the end there, and then you can plug it in like that, but your battery is going to be sitting like that, which isn't right. Let's see if it's the same issue with the BetaFPV Lava pack, because this one is actually the one that's recommended for this drone, and it is longer and it has a longer lead. I guess we can try and see if it's the same with this guy. Say that's still acceptable, and it balances just fine anyways because the 03 camera is so far forward. And now it looks like I should be able to, let me get this little balance lead out of the way too. Alright, so with the recommended Lava 550 pack, it is just barely long enough for the little battery lead to fit in the right position, but it is a very tight squeeze. So this is going to fly properly, but I guess just a heads up, if you were using these Tattoo packs like I was before, it's not going to be long enough to fit the new Pavo20 Pro. I think if I want to fly these packs, I'm going to have to make my own XT30 extension cable to extend it up over that loop. I wired up my own little XT30 battery extender, so this way you can plug it in over here. And now I have plenty of battery room to plug this in back here. And I'm going to have a little bit of extra wire hanging out the back, but that shouldn't hurt performance too much. It just weighs like, another 2 grams or so. It's a nice day at the pond, so it's time to take the Pavo20 Pro out for a test flight. For this flight, the 03 is recording at 4K resolution, 60 frames a second, and the rest of the camera settings are all on auto. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you should set the quality level to 4K, even if you're not watching this on a 4K capable device, because putting it in 4K will make sure you'll get the best bit rate. The DJI-03 records at a pretty high 150 megabits a second, which is a lot of data, and that amount of data is really good for getting really good video quality, but it's not good for YouTube, who wants to save money on bandwidth costs, so hopefully they don't compress this video too much. That's always the struggle, trying to show high quality video on YouTube. Anyways, this flying style, just cruising around and flying around like a bird, is my preferred flying style. I generally don't do a lot of freestyle, and as expected, this Pavo20 Pro handles this kind of flight just fine. Even though this is a pretty light drone at around 120 grams all up, it still has plenty of power, and I don't feel like it's sluggish at all. It can handle light wind gusts just easily. As far as power is concerned, there is plenty of power on tap. Now let's switch over to the goggles view for a more aggressive flight with loops and rolls and such. So this is the in-goggle view with the DVR overlaid on it. And if it's looking especially cinematic, it's because I'm actually using an ND8 filter on the 03, and so you should see a lot of nice motion blur in the footage here. I'm definitely not an expert freestyle pilot, but hopefully I can show you that this thing can do power loops and stuff just fine. I'm relatively new to using ND filters, but I really like how the footage looks with them. It makes it look like the drone's going really fast with all the motion blur there. For this footage, I'm filming at 4K 60, and I have the shutter speed fixed at 1/60th of a second, which apparently isn't recommended, but the extra little bit of motion blur I think is really nice. Apparently there's like a rule of twos or something where if I'm filming at 60 frames a second, then my shutter speed should be 1/120, but instead I'm doing 1/60, and it seems to be working okay for me. Anyways, the freestyle performance of the Pavo20 Pro is definitely the best out of all of the Pavo drones. There's definitely a lot of power on tap and it feels really snappy. Also, now that you can see the DVR footage, you can see the amp draw and battery cell voltage, and there is no free lunch. With all this freestyle power comes with an expense, which is the current draw, so this thing draws a lot of power and the flight time kind of suffers as a result. I thought that maybe putting the two blade props from the original Pavo20 onto the Pavo20 Pro would help the flight times, but it didn't really help at all. The Pavo20 Pro motors just really want the bigger props for the best efficiency. Anyways, for all these flights, the camera is at a pretty aggressive angle for really fast flying. And so next I wanted to test out if they fixed the prop guards and view issue when the camera was pointed down really, really low. So for the next flight, I'm going to be angling the camera at the same level as the original Pavo20 at its lowest level. So here's a flight with a camera at a very shallow up tilt of about 5 degrees above horizontal. This is about as low as the original Pavo20 could get, and the original Pavo20 had the prop guards in view at this level, but thankfully the Pavo20 Pro doesn't. They fixed the issue with this because they pushed the camera far forward enough so that the ducks aren't in view, even though the ducks are even larger on the Pavo20 Pro, so that's really nice. This does make me wonder if I could take the longer cage of the Pavo20 Pro and put it on the original Pavo20 to get absolutely no ducks in view, plus the really long flight times of the original Pavo20. I think that combination of a low camera angle and a really long flight time could make for a really good exploration drone. Anyways, after flying the Pavo20 Pro a lot, I think now it's time to go back to the bench and compare all three of the Pavo20 drones with each other. First, let's start off with the Pavo Pico. The Pavo Pico is the smallest drone out of the bunch. Its small size and how light it is makes it a really, really good indoor flyer. When flying indoors, weight is key because smaller and lighter drones are more agile and they're going to react better in order to avoid obstacles and go around tight gaps. And so you really want the lightest drone possible, and that is the Pavo Pico. Let me actually get a scale out. This is going to weigh, 101 grams. On the other hand, the Pavo20 Pro with its battery is going to weigh 150 grams. So the Pavo20 Pro weighs 50% more than the Pavo Pico. So that means the Pavo Pico is going to be that much more agile in small, challenging environments like flying indoors. That's where the Pavo Pico is really going to excel at. Next, let's look at the original Pavo20. It's looking a little bit bare right now because the O3 air unit is on the Pro, but we can pretend it's here for now. The other really noticeable difference is that the Pavo20 uses bi-bladed propellers, while all the other Pavo drones use tri-bladed propellers. What that means is that this drone is more efficient and it's going to fly longer than the other Pavo drones. Bi-blade props are more efficient than the equivalent tri-blade props. That efficiency is at the expense of immediate thrust and power. So while this thing won't be able to do freestyle tricks as well as the other ones, this thing is going to be really good at cruising and flight time and endurance. So if you just want to cruise around and explore, the Pavo20 is the best option. And now let's look at the new Pavo20 Pro. So this uses the same kind of batteries, 3S550, 650-ish LiPos as the original Pavo20, but they've upgraded the motors. The motors are bigger and they use large custom-made tri-bladed props, which means there's a lot more power on hand immediately. So that makes a Pavo20 Pro good for freestyle kind of flying. If you're gonna do flips, loops, and rolls, this thing does them the best out of all the other Pavo drones because you just have so much power on tap with these huge motors and these huge tri-bladed props. So if you just wanna have fun ripping around, the Pavo20 Pro is the way to go. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on the BetaFPV Pavo20 Pro and how it stacks up compared to the other Pavo series of drones. I'll be putting links to all of them in the video description below, so if you're interested, please check them out. And if you aren't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe so you can watch all my videos in the future. Thanks for watching. I really, really like flying that gap. I've made it every time so far, and hopefully it stays that way because if I do miss it, I'll probably crash into the lake. So knock on wood, that never happens.